Do you know how soil smells? Do you know how fertile soil feels? Soil is such a wonderful thing. Soil has wonderful characteristics. It can store moisture. It has elasticity. It can make space for roots. And it has a wonderful, unique smell. So you might know that a soil from a forest smells quite different to the soil in your garden. Soil is its own world, a realm where the mineral world and the organic world come together to form something miraculous. Most of our plants root in soil, and many of them live in symbiosis with mycorrhizal fungi, weaving their mycelium into the soil too. When soil is fertile, it can give life to all of us. And as the term soil fertility suggests, soil is much more than just matter. Soil fertility can let life grow. But you might know that soil is in significant danger. Soil might be one of the resources which is most impacted by humanity's activities. We lose soil every year in an alarming rate. Every year we lose 24 billion tons of soil. We lose it through compaction, building development, and desertification. And that is much more than 3 tons per person and year of an already rare resource. But fertile soil is so dearly needed in times when there will be ever more people living on this planet. There is one idea with which we possibly, and at least in parts, can turn this development. And this idea is take a stake in land. Land is the extended dimension of soil. Soil and land are 2 dimensions of the same thing. And now, if we look at soil as a common good, something which is taken care of by a group of stakeholders, we might have found the key for sustainable use. So the big question is, how can we create more fertile soil? All my life, I've been struck by the question, how can we live a sustainable lifestyle without ruining the planet? I've always been fascinated by systems which are really sustainable, especially the ones which are not only less harmful, but that make things better. Instead of just halting biodiversity loss, how can we improve biodiversity? Like many of you, I grew up in a city, and I had hardly any contact to agriculture, except once. It was on a holiday, and I was 6 years old, when a horse grabbed me by my pullover and lifted me over the fence and placed me into the paddock. My mother found that pretty scary. Later on, I encountered agriculture in class 9, when we had an internship on a farm. And this farm was covered with field stones. And you guessed it, we had to remove the stones. And one misty morning, a particularly cold one, I was grabbing these stones and suddenly I decided to become a farmer. It must have made sense. Later on, I realized it's not agriculture itself that makes the difference between a sustainable and an unsustainable world. It's the way we do agriculture. And so I devoted 2 years to an apprenticeship on a farm, and I studied agronomy. And during that time, I was always trying to answer this question: what are the key changes in order to come to a sustainable lifestyle? Much of my career I've been working as an agricultural consultant, and I traveled all over the world. And what I found is that agriculture all over the place gets more industrialized, more specialized, and less diverse. With one exception. What is the one single factor that makes the difference? It's about land ownership. Who owns the land? These days, I'm part of an association, GLS Treuhand, which for the past 50 years discovered and developed ways how communities can own and steward the land. And the main model they've developed is a non-profit association that owns the land and rents it to a farmer's community. This is the only model I know so far in which agriculture gets always more diverse and not less. Building on what we've learned, we now set up a cooperative which buys land and rents it to farmers, Bioboden. I will tell you more about it in a minute. In most Western countries, we associate private land ownership with best land stewardship. We assume that what you own, you take care of. But as recent developments in respect to soil show, often the opposite is true. So, private land ownership is no guarantee for sustainable land use. On top of this, private property being treated as tradable commodity is object to speculation. And speculation drives prices up way much higher than ever farmers can pay back through harvest returns. But must it be this way? Who owns the air? Does or should water belong to anybody? Air and water are easily suggested to be public goods because everyone can use them. Why not soil? Soil is different. Soil is limited and it needs care to retain its function. So soil can and should be regarded as a common good. Land as commons means it is of stakeholder use. Primarily farmers, forestry people, hunters, maybe nature conservationists. But who is behind all these folks? No farms without consumers. And that is you. That's all of us. So the question is, how can we as consumers get involved? What if we all had the chance to help steward the soil? What if we all saw our little piece of land as being part of a vast commons? Then I could ask, how would you like to take care for your 2,000 square meters? Well, look at it this way. If there is a right to food, then maybe there is a right to the land behind the food, where the food is grown too. And then maybe we could say that every human being on Earth owns the land on Earth. If you divide the planet's acreage through the world population, you get about 2,000 square meters. And that is more or less exactly the amount of land that one needs in order to have a sustainable and diverse diet. Now that you know that you are with your 2,000 square meters are part of the global soil common, how would you like to take care for your 2,000 square meters? Soil as a commons needs specific rules so that nobody of the stakeholders uses the commons in a way that harms others. And the best way to ensure this is to allow the participants to make the rules themselves and to control them themselves. In the case of our cooperative Bioboden, the members decided to devote their land only to organic agriculture. And organic label organizations, they make the rules themselves and control them themselves. And so, in finding a solution to the land dimension of our dilemma, through buying the land, we found a solution for the soil side of our dilemma. Because organic agriculture can hold soil fertility and in good cases even rise it. When we acquire land in this way, we take it out of speculative markets and give farmers a long-term perspective to steward the land. In our case, 30 years, which can be prolonged. And that means then that they still produce for the market, but without the pressure to exploit or even overexploit the land. Now, how much do 2,000 square meters cost? In Germany, in the area where we are active, it's around 3,000 euros. Now, coming back to this cooperative, in the last 3 years, with in the meantime 3,800 members, we bought 30 million square meters of land for 53 farms. Now, when you want to know where are my 2,000 square meters, it might be that somebody else says, oh, that should be mine. But in the end, you have the joy that someone else thinks it's their land. And here you see a very seldom big bird, the great bustards. It is living on one of our farms. Now, there are many other great examples how to steward the land. There's Kulturland Cooperative in Germany or Terre de Liens in France. There's some crowd investing platform underway and some creative thinking about blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies to acquire more land. In any case, joining one of these initiatives strengthens the movement and at the same time could give you the satisfaction of being involved. We are more than just consumers. We are citizens. We can create something. We can do more than just buy organic food. We can steward the land that creates it. So, why not founding such an initiative in Switzerland or elsewhere? Thank you.